Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy Lost Stranger once again. And yes, this is the third volume of the series. And I just have to say, holy crap, this book is amazing. I've been saying it since I started talking about this series that it is honestly one of the best series that I've ever read. And if you haven't started reading that, then what are you doing here? You should at least have read the first two before watching this video. But before we actually send all of you away, I would like to just quickly say that this is actually a pretty new series and a pretty short series. Only coming out in 2017 and only having 5 volumes to its name. So, yeah. Obviously, like I said, it's young, it is new, and it is very short. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, but anyways, now that everyone who hasn't read the first 2 volumes at least has left, let's actually talk about this volume. And holy crap, this volume was amazing. And also kind of interesting, because unlike the other two, this one does not end, I should say, on a cliffhanger. Both of the other ones do end on a cliffhanger. The first one ends with them about to go fight the Mist Dragon, which they fight in the second volume and all that stuff. And then in in volume 2, they of course are dealing with the sisters, which I keep forgetting what Magus sisters, I think they're called. Magus sisters. But yeah, they're fighting, they have been captured by them and are now arrested or whatever by them. But this volume, they end in a good spot. They have just defeated the Calabrinca, which, yeah, or Calabriana, whatever the frick they're called. So yeah, that's what is mostly going on in this chapter. So, or this volume. So obviously, first off, they need to get out of this terrible place with the Magus sisters and escape to freedom. But for some reason, they don't just want Shagu or Shogo. Why do I keep saying his name wrong for some reason. For some reason they also want Sharu, who is the main white mage, which is extremely odd to say the least. Shogo we kind of understand because of the fact that he is actually like he has the power of Libra. So him being there makes a whole bunch of sense. Them wanting to figure out why he has this power makes a ton of sense. But even now, where I am, they still haven't really explained why the heck they're after Sharu. And they bring both of them up in front of the three of them, and while leaving the other two behind, and seem to want both of them. The information is kind of weird, but it does bring up the question of what's going on with Sharu. And I guess we have a smarty pants main protagonist on us because his first thought is maybe she's from another world too. Which, honestly, that's just like, what the fro? How do you jump to that conclusion so quickly? No main protagonist has ever done that in the main series. It's insanity. I mean, it's also possible that they may be also want her because of the fact that when she casts a lot of cures, she faints. Because MPs shouldn't make you faint if you lose all of it. It should just make you not be able to cast magic. So, yeah, that's weird. But we also get to see lots of cool him realizing how to do things, like figuring out that if you use if seeing a mallet and realizing, oh yeah, this can actually cast mini on you, and lots of other really cool things. And their eventual way to escape is also really interesting. I don't want to get into that because that was actually a really interesting thing. how he handled to do that. But they do escape, as we can all expect. But upon escaping, they're captured again by the frickin' king. As we all know, Sarah from the last chapter or the last volume is the princess. And her father, the king, got really pissed at them for trying to throw her off a frickin' tower. Which, I mean, that's understandable. But the thing is, the main character knew 100% that the Galley Cat was not gonna let her die. He was going to save her using frickin' levitate. So what the frill? It was his only option to save her from the actual terrorists. And it's just like, what the frill? And no one wants to believe Sarah because even though she knows the truth, and it's chaos. It's just straight up a whole bunch of just chaotic moments going from one thing to another, and absolutely no one wants to believe them. They're almost all killed, and Sarah saves the day, which honestly is really cool. She's honestly giving me a lot of Dagger flashbacks. She really does feel very similar to Dagger from Final Fantasy IX, and honestly that's really cool. But her father doesn't really remind me of Braun, however you pronounce her name, because yeah, the king is kind of looks like a ghost as it is. Like he's not actually in control. It's hard to say exactly, but it really does feel like he's not the one doing anything. More like he's just being a puppet. Just being there for the sake of being there. Almost reminds me of something that we see literally moments before that a certain puppet is also being controlled. By an emperor who apparently is the main bad guy of the frickin' series. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I'm honestly really glad that we're seeing a kind of a departure from other Final Fantasies in the past. In a lot of Final Fantasies beforehand, they kind of had this thing. We all know Sephiroth, and we all know frickin' Kuja from 9, and it's just both of them have this thing where they are basically looking like they're the subordinate of one of the big bad guy, but then they kill their main big bad guy in order to gain power, and they become known as the actual big bad of the series. But in this, they're kind of going away from that, it looks like, because the big bad is hidden in shadows, which honestly that's pretty cool to say the least. It's not necessarily looking like it's going to be a twist or anything. Like obviously the Maga sisters don't really they could absolutely still be the ones who are actually in control, but they just don't feel like they're actually in control at all. So yeah, this emperor guy, whoever he is, he's definitely the one pulling the strings. So, yeah. And honestly, I'm just really glad that they've actually done such an interesting story for this. Because, like I said, it feels like a Final Fantasy, but made into a manga and using its own story. Final Fantasies have always been in that kind of gray area of really not knowing. They have some connection, but not much. And that is what this feels like. It really does feel like a lot of other Final Fantasies before it, but with some slight differences in a different universe, and that is why I love this series. So, yeah. But, of course, after everything has been cleared up with the king, and they're no longer about... The main characters are no longer about to be hung for crimes they didn't commit. Well, technically, I guess they did. But the point is that they don't die. But now, after gaining new equipment, it's time for a boss fight. Kind of. Because now we're fighting a whole bunch of Kalas and Briannas, or whatever they're called. I keep forgetting what they're actually called. Let me actually go to the correct page for this. Calcabrinas. Yeah. Yeah, so Calcabrinas are here, and they are, and now we have to fight all of them, so that's fun. So, but yeah, the Calcas and the Brinas. That's right. I don't always know, but yeah. So they're fighting all of these terrible monsters that usually you have to kill all of them together or else it fails, and and by working together and finally gaining the respect of the rest of the kingdom that they deserve, they're able to stand up with the guards as well as the other people around them to actually take down all of these monsters in a group. And it is amazing. Honestly, seriously, it is awesome. And so ends the series, clearly hinting towards something new happening at a certain cathedral that we'll have to deal with. So, yeah, absolutely super excited to read the next volumes, which you know that once I get them, I will be doing a review of them. And yeah. But one last thing before we actually sign off and all of that stuff. I mentioned before that this is a relatively new series. And but 2017, that doesn't sound too new. I mean, freaking Witch Hat Atelier has been around for a much shorter amount of time, only coming around in 2019. And not and then or same goes with Ascendance of a Bookworm, or My Hero Academia is a little bit older, but still, these things are kind of it's weird that I say that it's new. But the reason I say that is because of the fact that there are only 5 volumes of this thing, meaning that they've only just started doing multiple volumes in a year. Yeah, it's that recent that they only in 2020 did they do 2 volumes a year, and that was only freaking the 5 and 6, which makes me realize that one, if they are going to be doing an anime adaptation for this, it's going to be a while. But two, they really don't have the funding to actually make this into a fully fledged series. Obviously, uh obviously Square has never really been that great when it comes to manga or anime or anything like that. Obviously, they have succeeded in the past, but more of what they did was they basically supported these different creators. Specifically, like I said, they supported the people who made Fire Force and Soul Eater. Believe it or not, those are actually labeled as being under frickin' Square. Like, it's not extremely hard. I don't remember where it is, but I have seen that they are actually technically they're owned by Square. And that's basically been their only interaction in the anime and manga world for a long time. The only real exception to this is the fact that they made Kingdom Hearts manga for almost every single Kingdom Hearts game. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. Like, as far as I'm aware, there's no Chain of Memories manga. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure there's not. And with other things, there's only light novels and stuff like that. The fact is that they're relatively new to this stuff. Using Kingdom Hearts as a basis to create a manga actually makes a lot of sense, considering the fact that the story is already there. Basically, all they have to do is add a little bit more, and to have a actually really good story on your hands. And that's what they did with the Kingdom Hearts mangas, and what they're still doing with the Kingdom Hearts mangas. But with Final Fantasy, one of the things that they kind of have to be careful of is, what do they do? Obviously, they have to be careful not to go too far onto any one fandom, because Everyone has their favorite Final Fantasy, and if you're not careful enough when stepping into their rank, then you're going to have problems. There's a reason why people don't like Advent Children. There's a reason why people don't like a lot of the stuff that happened with 10 and 13 and 15. Seriously. After those mistakes with especially with 15, they've learned their lesson. And at least that's what I think. Because remember, 15 came out in 2016. This came out in 2017. And with that, they have to now make sure that they're not stepping on too many toes and they actually do this right. And by doing what they've done with this, it makes a lot of sense. They're testing the waters, seeing if they can actually go full force and bring Final Fantasy into the manga era, or to bring it into a manga world. By testing the waters, first by making a Final Fantasy manga that sadly doesn't get a lot of attention, but holy crap, it is amazing. Seriously, if you guys haven't read it yet, please go and read these. They are awesome, and I will be continuing to talk about them for a long time, and I'm going to force Quixote to actually read these, so he can actually do his videos on them, because they are very connected to frickin' 14. So, yeah, look forward to seeing that whole situation. Um, don't actually expect that to happen, but seriously, I have been kind of getting on his case to actually read these. The point is, they've been testing the waters. If they know that this manga is well liked and that people will enjoy it and buy it and read it, then they can actually continue going forward. On top of that, they also need to they're testing the waters with the anime department. Again, The World Ends With You is their way to test the waters to see, can we actually go into the whole anime world by starting with something that isn't as popular as Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts. They're testing the waters to then make sure that, okay, this works. We can now move forward and make something that a lot of fans are actually really going to enjoy. Making therefore Lost Stranger being the next anime adaptation. Please, Square, give it to us. But again, in order for them to actually pull these things off, we need to tell them that we enjoy these things. Seriously, read the Final Fantasy Lost Stranger manga. And if you are someone who makes videos about it, please tell them that you enjoy it. Because that is going to be the thing that is going to get them to make this series become more and more popular. And even if you don't enjoy it, tell them what you think they could have done better. Things like that, they really do help. And then, when the actual World Ends With You anime starts, again, if you are a YouTuber, please review it. Getting the message out there that we enjoy their stuff is going to tell them, hey, we can actually do this in a lot of different departments. And they can expand to becoming much better. With the fact that they are kind of backed by Disney as it is right now, they are the best option going forward. And if you guys don't actually know about that fact that Square is actually backed by Disney, yeah, they are. Because, one, Kingdom Hearts. We all know about Kingdom Hearts. But on top of that, there's the Marvel games that they've been making, and the figures. So, considering that, you should know by now that, yeah, Square and Disney are like that. So, yeah. With their backing, they can actually pull off making a good anime adaptation for something like Lost Stranger, or even making anime for other series going forward. And honestly, I think a lot of fans are absolutely going to love it just as much as I am. But anyways, guys, I know this video was long, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and or even if you're not new but you just haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and ring that notification bell. It really helps. Of course, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. If you are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in your comment. And of course, if you do want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our other 2 channels where we are teaching you guys about different languages and stuff. And of course, there's also our social medias and ways that you can support us financially, including our Patreon and the merch store and the book. So please do go check those things out. But anyways, guys, I have been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!